The practice issue that I looked at was social isolation in older adults, and I looked at systems theory and feminist theory. Systems theory is examining the whole as being connected parts of a system. The system contains elements that interact with one another in a complex way. This understanding is different in that it allows for changes to the entire system based upon the interactions among the parts. It does not reduce things down to one idea or understanding. It's dynamic and changing. This got away from the concept of predetermined outcomes based upon physical events. Some of the theorists that are important with systems theory are Ludwig von Bertalanffy, Talcott Parsons, Robert Merton, and Gordon Hearn. On the other hand, feminist theory comes from several disciplines and subjects with an emphasis on challenging existing understandings of knowledge and interpretation. It looks at the role that gender plays in established knowledge. It seeks to understand this knowledge interpretation, but through the lens outside of the traditional understanding, while looking at marginalization of groups, the impact of gender, race, class, sexuality, and culture on knowledge and intellectual understanding. It also looks at change existing structures and understanding to promote equality and justice. Some of the theorists in feminist theory are Simone de Beauvoir, Betty Friedan, Carol Gilligan, and Dorothy Smith. Now, some of the disciplines and dominant discourses have also been created for each of these theories. For feminist theory, it comes from several disciplines, including philosophy, psychology, sociology, political science, and gender, as well as literature, and discusses power and oppression through that lens. It also looks at existing patriarchal structures and how these interact with gender, sexuality, race, class, among others, to result in inequities. These discourses have been utilized to examine inequities created among marginalized groups based upon gender and have informed new ways of thinking, creating policies, research, and social change to work towards social justice. On the other side, we see systems theory, which comes from several disciplines including psychology, sociology, biology, ecology, and others. It looks at individuals through the complex systems they are part of, including organizations, families, institutions, and ecosystems. Systems theory includes a complex understanding of the many aspects of an individual's life and how they interact among each other and the dynamics that make up the whole. Each of these aspects interrelate in diverse ways that impact the entire system. Now, we have some epistemologies that guide these perspectives. For feminist theory, it's guided by challenging the traditional frameworks of epistemology and focusing on neo-empiricism, intersectionality, standpoint theory, and marginality. Neo-empiricism looks at knowledge as being developed at a community rather than individual level. For intersectionality, it looks at the intersections of different social identities and how they impact the subjectivity of knowledge creation and understanding. Standpoint theory looks at the situation and position of the knowledge creator and how this often excludes the perspectives of women and marginalized groups. Marginality then refers to those groups whose experiences and knowledge have been ignored in the knowledge discourse. For systems theory, the epistemologies that guide it look at the interconnections of all aspects of an individual's life. This is done in a holistic way to understand the relationships between the components that make up the whole and organize reality. It contains aspects of positivist and constructivist aspects, as well as subjective and objective perspectives. The systems included can either be closed or open, but all of the aspects interrelate. The context plays a significant role as well, along with perspective and the interaction among subsystems to create and impact the whole. The system results from principles of organization of parts that make up something larger, the whole. Moving on to some of the ethics and values that these theories contain. For feminist theory, Some of the ethics and values include equality, diversity, autonomy, social justice, intersectionality, and recognition of oppression and the role of power. It relates to social justice and the values of social work because it works to recognize the voices of marginalized groups and advocates for the destroying of the oppressive systems to realize equality for all individuals, not just the privileged or patriarchal systems in place. For systems, on the other hand, some of the ethics and values that guide that include equality, collaboration, equilibrium, ecosystems, interconnection, and community. It relates to social justice because it recognizes individuals as not autonomous actors, but as parts of the larger system and structures. The communities and allows for identification of problematic structures that can lead to system changes that can achieve greater equity and social justice for all aspects of the whole, including marginalized populations. How then can we use these theories in direct social work practice? For feminist theory, it can be used in social work practice to address inequities based upon gendered thinking, as well as address social injustice. It moves beyond the understanding of a binary gendered understanding. It can be used to empower individuals and groups that are worked with and challenge the oppression they face. Feminist theory can be used to address the social problem of social isolation in older adults through looking at the intersection of gender, sexuality, class, and race, and the binary concepts of aging as either success or decline. It can assist with developing expanded understandings of both the risk factors and interventions that result in social isolation and can allow for more comprehensive tools that can empower older adults and better address the challenges they face, resulting in greater social justice. Systems theory, on the other hand, can be applied in social work practice to address inequalities and promote social justice because it looks at systems and the impact that they have on individuals. Through better understanding the structures that impact a person, certain aspects can be changed to impact the whole. This can be utilized concerning the social problem of social isolation in older adults because it looks at all the factors impacting an individual's life. Interventions can then be utilized, either one or several at a time, and can create a positive impact upon the whole through targeting societal, institutional, or environmental concerns. Social isolation, therefore, can be looked at through the connections of several factors to better understand the problem and can be improved by addressing an aspect to promote greater connection rather than trying to change everything as a whole. Now, how can theory be used more specifically to address our social isolation in older adults? Systems theory can be effective because in its use, we can have a greater understanding of the interactions among the different systems in older adults' lives. These interactions can then be utilized to discover different vulnerabilities, stressors, beliefs, values, coping, and adaptabilities of the individual's life to create interventions to meet their needs. It starts with recognizing the many influences at play within the aspects of an individual's life or social issues such as the problem of social isolation. Social workers can use this framework to look at the whole situation that an older adult is part of to gather a better understanding of the problems involved. These identified problems can then be utilized to create an intervention to change part of the system and therefore create a change to the system or a connection of several systems interacting. On the other hand, feminist theory can be used to address social isolation in older adults. This is because it can be applied to aging, because it allows us to look at aging and social isolation through the social and structural differences an individual sits in, including race, class, gender, and sexuality. Old age can be understood by looking at it through a power framework and to understand older bodies in the context of time and space. Through using feminist theory to recognize how older people are viewed as the other, and that the biological and socially constructed understandings of age interact with gender, race, ethnicity, and class, we can better understand ageism and the view of bodily differences and the binary understanding of success or decline. Aging looked at through a feminist lens is one of being part of the context in which we live and is influenced by the different environments, including cultural, political, structural, and others. Thank you very much.